All right, everyone, get ready, because today we're taking a deep dive into the world of cold emailing. I know, you've probably heard of it, maybe even tried it out a bit, but today we're going way deeper. We're going to uncover why it's so powerful and surprisingly versatile, no matter what you're aiming for.
Yeah, what's so interesting about cold emailing is that it's often misunderstood. Many people just think it's spam, but that's not true at all when it's done right. It's about being strategic, targeting the right people, personalizing messages, and building actual relationships, not just blasting out the same email to a huge list.
Exactly. And for this deep dive, we're using the Cold Email Manifesto by Alex Berman, also known as the Cold Email King, and Robert Indries. These guys were literally broke, living in their parents' basement. And they built a seven-figure agency, helped clients get million-dollar deals, all thanks to cold email.
Alex Berman's story is like the perfect example of how powerful this approach can be. He even managed to cold call the marketing director at Coca-Cola by creatively getting around all those phone transfers. It shows that with the right strategy, you can reach anyone.
Wow. Okay, so first things first, we got to debunk the myth that cold emailing is just spamming.
Absolutely. It's think of it as a modern, more efficient version of cold calling. Remember those days of just dialing number after number, hoping to find the right person? Cold emailing streamlines that whole thing. You can connect with your ideal audience in a more targeted and personal way.
And that targeted approach is key, right? I mean, would you open a generic email that looks like it was sent to hundreds of others? Probably not.
Exactly. It comes down to respecting the person's time and attention. Instead of just blasting out the same message, you're taking the time to research, to understand their needs, and to craft messages that directly speak to them.
So how does this actually work? What are some of the key strategies in the Cold Email Manifesto?
One of the most important techniques is the custom first line. It's all about grabbing the recipient's attention right away. This goes way beyond just dear name. You show genuine interest by referencing their work or a recent accomplishment, something specific to them.
That makes sense. It's like you're saying, hey, I actually took the time to learn about you and what you do. You're not just some random email.
Exactly. It shows you're not just blindly sending out tons of emails. You did your research. You're genuinely interested in connecting with them personally.
So let's say you nail that custom first line, you've got their attention. What's next? How do you craft an email that actually converts?
The book breaks down a cold email into three main parts: the compliment, the case study, and the call to action. Think of it like a mini presentation all packed into an email. You start by complimenting the recipient. Then you show off your expertise with a short case study. And finally, you clearly say what you want them to do.
Okay, let's break that down. The compliment, that's the custom first line we talked about, right? A genuine compliment specific to that person.
Exactly. It sets the tone for a positive interaction right from the start. Then you follow it with a powerful one-sentence summary of a previous success story. This is your case study. It builds credibility and shows you can get results.
So you're saying, hey, look at what I've done for others. Imagine what I can do for you. That's pretty compelling.
Yeah.
What about the call to action? What does that look like?
It should be clear, simple, and ideally it's a yes or no question. Something like, would you be open to a quick chat about specific benefit you provide? If so, let me know, and I can send you a few times that work for me. You make it super easy for them to take the next step.
That's so much better than a vague, let me know if you're interested.
Yeah.
You're guiding them towards an action, a real conversation. This is all starting to make sense. But what about finding the right people to email in the first place? How do we avoid just sending these awesome emails into a black hole?
That's where targeted lead generation comes in. And it's probably the most important part of the whole process. Remember, you're not trying to reach everyone. You're looking for the right people, the ones who are most likely to be interested in what you offer. Otherwise, you're just wasting time and potentially hurting your sender reputation.
Right, so how do we avoid the spam trap? How do we make sure our emails are going to the right inboxes?
It all comes down to defining your ideal customer. Who are they? What are their pain points? What are their goals? Once you have that clear picture of your target audience, you can start building a list of leads that fit those criteria.
Okay, but how do we find those leads? Where do we even begin?
There are a few different methods. Each one has its pros and cons. You can manually gather leads from websites and platforms like LinkedIn. That's called lead scraping. Or you can use lead databases. They have precompiled lists of contacts. And you can search those databases by specific criteria.
So lead scraping is more DIY, and lead databases are more streamlined and efficient?
Exactly. And if you want a more hands-off approach, You can outsource lead generation to freelancers, people who specialize in building those targeted lists.
That's a great point. It's like having your own personal lead generation team. So we've got our
Right.
targeted list, we've got our amazing emails. Anything else we should keep in mind before hitting send?
One crucial step is verifying those email addresses. You don't want all your hard work going to waste because you're emailing fake inboxes.
Right. Not to mention it could hurt your sender reputation.
Yeah.
So we got to make sure those emails are going to real people. Are there tools that can help us verify them?
Absolutely. There are a bunch of online tools and services that can clean your list. They make sure you're only sending to valid email addresses. It's a small investment that can save you a ton of headaches later on.
This is super helpful. I'm starting to feel like I'm getting a grip on this cold emailing thing. So once those emails are verified, are we finally ready to hit send and unleash these masterpieces?
Almost. Before you send a single email, there's one more crucial step. Email warm-up. People often overlook this, but it's really important for getting your emails delivered and avoiding those spam filters.
Okay, email warm-up. I've heard the term, but I'm not totally clear on what it means. Can you explain it?
Think of it as training your inbox. You want it to handle a larger volume of email without setting off any alarms. It's about gradually increasing your sending volume over time, so it looks like natural email activity. This builds trust with email providers like Gmail and Outlook.
So you're basically proving to those email overlords that you're legit. You're not some spammer blasting out a million messages at once.
Exactly. And there are tools and services that can automate the warm-up process, which makes it much easier and less time-consuming.
Okay, email warm-up. Got it. What about sending limits? I've heard there are restrictions on how many emails you can send per day.
That's right. Most email providers have daily limits to prevent abuse and protect users from spam, like Gmail, for example. Free accounts can send around 500 emails per day. Paid accounts can send up to $2,000.
So it's not about blasting out as many emails as you can. It's about being strategic and respecting those limits. What happens if you go over those limits?
It can trigger spam filters, and it could even get your account suspended. It's not worth the risk. It's better to focus on quality, not quantity. Send targeted emails to people who actually care about what you have to say.
Right. That's where the targeted lead generation comes in again. You're not aiming for everyone. You're looking for the right people. But once we've got our email warmed up, our leads are verified, and we're staying under those sending limits. Is there anything else we need to consider before hitting send? Like, is there a magic time to send cold emails?
There's no perfect time that guarantees success, but there are some strategic things to think about. Think about when your target audience is most likely to be checking their emails. Early morning, before the workday gets crazy, or maybe toward the end of the day, as people are wrapping things up. Those can be good times to test.
So it's about catching them when they're most likely to see your message and actually engage with it. This is all super helpful. But before we move on to the next part of our cold email journey, I think we need a real-life story, a campaign gone wrong story, something we can all learn from. One of those, like, what not to do stories.
Oh, yeah. I definitely have one of those. A few years ago, I had this, brilliant idea for a platform that would help people find and rank the best software tools for their needs. I was so excited about it. I built this list of potential users and wrote what I thought was an awesome email.
It sounds promising for so far. What went wrong?
Well, I was so excited to explain all the amazing features and benefits of this platform. I totally forgot about personalization. My emails were generic. They didn't have a strong call to action, and they didn't connect with anyone. It was all about me and my platform,
Right.
and not at all about them and what they needed.
Ouch. So it's a classic case of too much information, not enough connection. What happened?
Crickets. My open rates were terrible. I barely got any replies. It was a total flop.
Oh, that's rough. But what did you learn from this cold email crash and burn?
It was a really valuable lesson about testing and refining your approach. I realized I needed to step back, analyze what wasn't working, and make adjustments. It's not about being perfect right away. It's about being willing to learn, to iterate, to constantly improve.
That's a great takeaway. So you scrapped the whole campaign and started over.
Yep. I looked at my target audience again, made my message better, and focused on writing personalized emails that actually spoke to their needs and problems. And guess what? The revised campaign did so much better.
That's awesome. So even when things go wrong, there's always a chance to learn and improve.
Absolutely. Sometimes those failures are the best teachers.
Okay, so we've covered writing those killer cold emails, generating targeted leads, warming up our inboxes, and we even learned from a real-life campaign gone wrong. What's next? What happens when someone actually replies to our email? How do we handle those responses? schedule calls, and keep the conversation going?
That's a great question, and it's something we'll definitely dive into in the next part of our deep dive. We'll talk about how to handle those responses, both good and bad, how to schedule calls effectively, and how to follow up without being annoying.
This is getting good. Stay tuned, folks, as we continue our deep dive into the world of cold email mastery.
All right, so let's say you've sent out your perfectly crafted cold emails, you've warmed up your inbox, you're staying under those sending limits. Now comes the exciting part, getting responses.
Yes, it's like waiting for those college acceptance letters, right?
Yes.
Except, hopefully, with a much higher acceptance rate.
Yeah.
So let's say someone replies to my email and they seem interested. What's the best way to keep that momentum going and turn that initial spark into a real conversation?
The key here is speed. When you get a positive reply, try to respond within 24 hours, or even sooner if you can. And here's a tip. Offer specific times for a call instead of just saying, let me know when you're free.
So instead of playing email tag for days, you're taking charge and making it super easy to schedule that call.
Exactly. You could say something like, that's great to hear. How does Tuesday at 10 a.m. or Thursday at 2 p.m. work for you? I'm also flexible on Friday.
Okay, that's way better than going back and forth forever, trying to find a time that works for both of you. But what if someone asks a question in their reply, like about pricing or case studies? Do I need to answer everything in detail before trying to schedule a call?
You definitely want to acknowledge their question.
Yeah.
But keep your main goal in mind, booking that call. You could say something like, I'm happy to go over those details on a call. How does insert your proposed times look for you?
So it's about gently steering the conversation toward that personal connection, where you can really dive in and answer all their questions properly.
Exactly. Now let's talk about those not so enthusiastic replies.
Yeah. Those can be tough. What's the best way to handle those negative replies? Or even hostile ones? Do we need to, defend myself or my offer?
It's totally normal to feel defensive. But try to resist getting into an argument. Remember, you're not going to win everyone over, and that's okay. A simple, thanks for your feedback, or appreciate you taking the time to reply is usually enough.
That's a good reminder. Sometimes it's best to just move on and focus on the people who are genuinely interested. Speaking of things that can be tough, let's talk about no-shows. It's so frustrating when you've cleared your schedule for a call and then nothing.
It happens to everyone. But here's the thing. Clear communication and timely reminders can really help. They can cut down on those no-shows significantly.
Okay, so sending a calendar invite with all the details is a good start. But what else can we do?
A friendly reminder, email a day or two before the call can work wonders. Something like, hey, name, just wanted to confirm our chat tomorrow at time. Looking forward to it.
Right, because sometimes people just forget. Or they get caught up in their day. A little nudge can be all it takes. But what if, even after all that, someone still doesn't show up? Do we just give up on them? Or is there a way to, salvage the situation?
Don't give up just yet. Try sending a follow-up email after the missed call. You can acknowledge the no-show and offer to reschedule. You could say, hey, name, no worries, I understand things come up. Are you still interested in connecting? If so, what times work best for you?
So you're not trying to make them feel bad. You're just being understanding and giving them another chance. It's like saying, hey, life happens. Let's try again.
Exactly. You never know what someone's dealing with, so it's always best to be empathetic and flexible. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about measuring your success. How do you know if your cold email campaigns are actually working?
Right, because we don't want to just be sending emails into the void, hoping for the best. What are some key numbers we should be aiming for?
There are a few key metrics to track. A good open rate to aim for is around 80%. That means 8 out of 10 people who get your email are actually opening it. A response rate of at least 15% is a good sign. And ideally, you want to see a meeting booking rate between 4% and 8%.
Those are some solid goals. But what if our campaigns aren't hitting those numbers? How do we troubleshoot those cold emails that just aren't getting the results we want?
One of the biggest mistakes is sending generic mass emails. Emails that lack that all-important personalization. Remember, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. You got to craft messages that really resonate with your target audience.
So those custom first lines we talked about, they're super important for getting attention and getting those emails opened.
Absolutely. Think about it. If you got an email that started with "Dear Name," you'd probably assume it's a mass email and just delete it. But if you saw an email that mentioned an article you wrote or a project you're working on, or even just a shared interest, you'd be much more likely to read it, right?
That's a great point. It's all about treating the person as an individual, not just another name on a list. But what if you're getting a decent number of responses, but you're just not able to book those meetings? What could be going wrong there?
Your follow-up strategy might need some work. Remember, clear communication and being prompt is key. When someone responds positively, don't wait. Suggest specific times for a call. And if you don't hear back after a few days, send a gentle bump email, just to keep the conversation going.
Right, because sometimes those emails just get lost. A reminder can be all it takes. But what about those no-brainer offers we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
How important are those for getting people excited about what you're selling?
They are absolutely crucial. Your offer needs to be so compelling, so good, that it's almost impossible to say no. Think about what really motivates your target audience, what are their problems, and how can your product or service solve those problems better than anyone else?
It's like offering someone a delicious fresh-baked cookie for just $1. It's such a good deal you can't resist.
Exactly. That's what a no-brainer offer feels like to your target audience. It's about perfectly matching your offer to their needs and desires, so it becomes a must-have, not just a nice-to-have.
Okay, so we've got personalization, follow-up, and crafting those irresistible offers.
Yeah.
But what about building a personal brand? How does that fit into the whole cold email game?
A strong personal brand can be a game changer. It's like building a reputation that comes before you. People are more likely to trust you and be open to your message.
So before you even send that first email, you're already building credibility and trust. How do we actually build a strong personal brand?
It's a multifaceted approach. A professional website, an active social media presence, even guest appearances on podcasts or blogs. All of these things can help establish your expertise and showcase your thought leadership.
So it's about creating that halo effect, where your online presence backs up the message you're sending in your cold emails. But what if you're just starting out and you don't have a ton of experience or a huge portfolio?
Don't let that stop you. Start by focusing on building relationships with other agencies or companies in your field. Propose partnerships where you handle their lead generation or other tasks in exchange for access to their case studies and testimonials. It's a win-win. You gain experience, build your portfolio, and you might even land some valuable clients along the way.
That's a great strategy. It's like an apprenticeship for cold emailing.
Exactly. Remember, we all start somewhere. Building a successful cold email strategy is a journey. You're always learning, iterating, and improving. Don't let fear or perfectionism hold you back.
So just dive in and start experimenting. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, we need to talk about the elephant in the room. Cold email beyond sales. I mean, we've talked a lot about using it for marketing and getting leads, but the cold email manifesto goes into some pretty interesting alternative uses, right?
Absolutely. Cold email can be a powerful tool for all sorts of things, from getting valuable backlinks for SEO, to landing guest spots on podcasts, to even getting your dream job.
Whoa, hold on. Backlinks, podcasts, dream jobs, all through cold email. Tell me more.
Let's start with backlinks. You know how important they are for getting your website ranked higher in search results? Well, cold email can be a surprisingly effective way to get those links.
Okay, I'm listening. How does that work? Do you just email a website and say, hey, please link to my site?
It's a bit more strategic than that. The book suggests targeting websites that have linked to outdated content or tools in your niche. Then you reach out to those websites and you suggest that they link to your content, which is newer, better, and more relevant.
Ah, so it's not about begging for links. It's about offering value and filling a gap that already exists. You're saying, hey, I noticed you linked to this old resource. I have something much better that would be super helpful for your audience.
Exactly. It's about being helpful, not desperate. And it works. The book has a bunch of stories about people getting high-quality backlinks through this strategy.
That's awesome. Okay, what about podcasts? How do you use cold email to get on those popular shows?
The key is to be strategic and target your outreach. Find podcasts that are relevant to your niche, podcasts with an audience you want to reach. Then, write a personalized email expressing your admiration for their show, and offer specific topics you could talk about, topics that would be valuable to their listeners.
So you're not saying, hey, I'm great, put me on your show. You're showing them that you understand their audience and that you can offer valuable insights. What kind of response rates do people usually get with this?
The book mentions a 30% positive response rate, which is pretty good for cold outreach. It shows that podcast hosts are often open to having guests who can bring something unique and valuable to their show.
That's encouraging. Okay, now for the big one. Dream jobs. Are you seriously saying that I can cold email my way into my dream job? How is that even possible?
It's all about being proactive and strategic. Instead of just applying for jobs online, find companies you'd love to work for and reach out directly to people in those companies, even if they're not hiring.
Okay, but what do you actually say in those emails? I'm picturing something like, hey, I'm amazing. Give me a job.
Not quite. The book suggests a more subtle approach. Instead of asking for a job right away, express your admiration for the company, highlight your relevant skills and experience, and ask for a quick informational interview to learn more about their work.
Ah, so it's about building a connection and showing your value without being desperate or pushy.
Exactly. It's about planting seeds, building relationships, and opening doors. Doors that might not have been open otherwise. And sometimes those informational interviews can actually lead to job offers later on.
This is blowing my mind. It's like cold email can unlock a whole new world of possibilities beyond just sales and marketing.
Absolutely. It's about changing your perspective and seeing cold email as a tool for connection, opportunity, and even personal growth. But there's one more crucial element we need to talk about: mindset.
Ah, yes, mindset. It's the foundation for any success. And cold emailing is definitely no exception. In fact, it's probably even more important here because you're dealing with rejection and those sometimes awkward social dynamics.
You're absolutely right. If you don't have the right mindset, even the best cold email strategies won't work. So what kind of mindset do we need for cold email mastery? What are some key things to remember?
Okay, I'm all ears. What are the secrets to that cold email mindset?
The book highlights a few important traits: resilience, persistence, a customer-centric focus, and a genuine desire to provide value.
So it's not about tricking people into buying from you. It's about connecting with the right people.
Yeah.
And offering them something they actually need and care about.
Exactly. It's about being authentic, approaching every interaction with a helpful attitude, and genuinely wanting to solve problems for your audience.
Okay, authenticity, I get it. What about resilience? I have a feeling that's super important for cold emailing.
Yeah.
Where rejection is just part of the game.
You're spot on. Resilience is essential. You're not going to win every deal or land every client with your first email. It takes multiple follow-ups, being willing to adapt, and being able to bounce back from those rejections.
So don't take it personally. See it as a learning experience. Keep refining your approach until you find what works. What about persistence? How does that fit in?
Persistence is all about not giving up too easily. You're not going to see results overnight. It takes consistent effort, willingness to experiment, and believing that your message can cut through the noise and make those connections.
Okay, resilience, persistence. What about that customer-centric focus you mentioned? How does that work with cold email?
A customer-centric focus means putting your audience's needs first. It's about understanding their pain points, addressing their concerns, and offering solutions that truly make their lives better.
So it's not about pushing your product or service no matter what. It's about truly helping people and building relationships based on trust and mutual benefit.
Exactly, and that connects to the final element of the cold email mindset, a genuine desire to provide value. When you really believe in what you offer and you're passionate about helping people, that comes through in your message, and it makes people more open to what you have to say.
So it's about aligning your passion with your purpose and approaching cold email from a place of genuine service, not just self-promotion. This is all making so much sense. But how do we actually cultivate this mindset? Are there any exercises or practices that can help us shift our perspective and approach cold emailing with more confidence and authenticity?
The book doesn't give specific exercises, but it stresses the importance of self-awareness and constantly checking your motivations and your approach. Ask yourself, why am I doing this? How can I provide real value to the people I'm reaching out to?
So it's an ongoing process of thinking and refining and remembering that behind those email addresses are real people with real needs and wants, not just potential sales.
Exactly. When you approach cold emailing with authenticity, empathy, and a genuine desire to connect, the results will follow.
This has been an amazing deep dive into cold emailing. We've gone from debunking myths and writing killer emails to getting targeted leads, building amazing sales teams, and developing the right mindset. But we're not done yet. We still need to explore how to build a high-performing sales team and unlocks the full potential of this approach. Join us for the final part of this deep dive as we continue exploring cold email mastery. Welcome back, everyone. We've covered so much in our cold email deep dive, from writing killer emails to getting those targeted leads, navigating all those responses, and even building the right mindset. But now let's talk about the team behind those campaigns. How do we build a sales team that can really take this approach to the next level?
That's a great question. And honestly, it's something that a lot of businesses struggle with. Building a successful sales team, it's not just about hiring talented people, it's about creating a whole culture of excellence, encouraging collaboration, and giving them the support and training they need to really thrive.
So it's not just about individual skills. It's about building a team that works together smoothly.
What are some key strategies for creating that kind of high-performing sales team?
One of the most effective strategies is segmentation. It's about breaking down the sales process into different stages and assigning specific roles to team members based on what they're best at.
Hmm, interesting. So instead of everyone doing everything, you're creating specialized roles within the sales process. Can you give us an example? How would this work in real life?
Sure, imagine you have a salesperson who's incredible at closing deals, but maybe they struggle with that initial outreach or writing those custom first lines. Instead of making them spend hours on tasks that drain them, tasks that don't play to their strengths, you can assign those tasks to other team members who excel in those areas.
Okay, I see how this could be a game changer. You're basically making the most of everyone's strengths and creating a more efficient and effective sales machine. What other benefits does this segmentation approach have? Well, it allows people to specialize and become real experts in their roles. This not only boosts their own performance, but it also makes them feel more ownership and pride in their work. Plus, it creates a more collaborative environment where everyone understands their role and how it contributes to the team's overall success.
I love that. It's not just about individual performance. It's about building a team where everyone feels valued and empowered to contribute their unique skills. What about compensation? How do we incentivize these salespeople and make sure they're rewarded for their hard work?
The Cold Email Manifesto emphasizes commission-based models for closers because it directly links their pay to their performance. This gives them a strong reason to close deals and bring in revenue.
Okay, so they're literally invested in the outcome. But I've also heard about clawbacks. Can you explain what those are and why they might be important?
A clawback is a provision. It allows the company to take back commission payments if a client cancels their contract or doesn't pay. I know it might sound a bit harsh, but it's a way to make sure salespeople are motivated to close good deals, deals that lead to long-term customer relationships.
Ah, that makes sense. It's about aligning incentives and making sure everyone's focused on delivering real value, not just chasing quick wins that might not last. What about training? How do we give our team the knowledge and skills they need to succeed with cold emailing?
There are many ways to approach sales training, but the Cold Email Manifesto suggests a more hands-off method. Salespeople get the basic tools and training, but then they're mostly left to figure things out on their own.
That sounds a bit like sink or swim. Is that really the best way to train a team?
It might seem strange, but this approach can actually be really effective. It helps you identify the people who are truly cut out for sales. It forces them to think for themselves, solve problems, and develop their own style, instead of just following a script.
So it's about giving them the power to own their process and learn through experience.
Yeah.
But what about those regular sales meetings? Are those still important, even in a more independent, commission-based setup?
Definitely. Regular sales meetings are a great chance for the team to connect. They can share what works, talk about challenges, brainstorm solutions, and celebrate their wins. It's also an opportunity for managers to give guidance, feedback, and motivation.
Okay, so it's about finding that balance between autonomy and support, creating an environment where salespeople feel in control, but also have the guidance and resources they need to succeed. What about communication and feedback? How important are those for a high-performing sales team?
Open communication and regular feedback are absolutely crucial. Salespeople need to feel comfortable coming to their managers with questions, concerns, even new ideas. And managers need to be approachable and responsive, willing to provide constructive feedback that helps those salespeople grow and improve.
So it's about creating a two-way conversation, a culture of trust and respect, where everyone feels heard and valued. What about building a sense of camaraderie and team spirit? How do we create a collaborative environment where everyone's working together towards the same goal?
Team building activities, social items, even friendly competitions can help break down barriers. They foster camaraderie and a sense of shared purpose. It's about creating an environment where people genuinely enjoy working together and celebrating each other's successes.
That's so important. When people feel connected and supported, they're more likely to go above and beyond. What about the role of the sales manager or leader? What qualities and practices can help them build and lead a successful team, especially in this fast-paced world of cold emailing?
The book highlights some essential qualities for effective sales leaders: vision, empathy, decisiveness, and a commitment to developing their team. It's not just about hitting those sales targets. It's about inspiring and empowering your team to reach their full potential.
So it's about being a coach, a mentor, even a cheerleader, guiding them towards success, while also giving them the support and encouragement they need to overcome obstacles
Yeah.
and celebrate their wins.
Exactly. And it's about creating a culture of continuous learning and improvement, where everyone feels comfortable experimenting, taking risks, and learning from their mistakes.
This has been an incredible journey into the world of cold email mastery. We've gone from debunking those common myths to writing compelling emails, generating targeted leads, building high-performing sales teams, and cultivating the right mindset. Before we wrap things up, what are some final takeaways for our listeners as they start their own cold email adventures?
Remember, cold email is powerful, but it's just one tool. It's about combining the right strategies, the right mindset, and the right team to unlock its full potential. It's about being genuine, offering value, and building relationships that matter.
That's such a powerful message. It's not just about closing deals. It's about making real connections and leaving a positive mark.
Exactly. And remember, the journey of cold email mastery never really ends. There's always more to learn, more to try, more to achieve.
So embrace the challenge, experiment, iterate, and keep learning. If you could reach anyone in the world with a well-crafted email, who would it be? And what would you say?
That's a great question to think about. What about you?
I think I'd reach out to... You know what? I'm going to keep that one a secret for now. But we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us on social media and share your thoughts. Be sure to check out the show notes for links to the Cold Email Manifesto. We've also included other resources and tips to help you get started. Until next time, happy emailing